Welcome everyone to second stream of the day. Like Toxic says, we're going crazy right now over on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. This one, an instant reaction after the Houston Texans beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC wildcard game, officially wrapping up wildcard weekend on a Monday. So for those watching live, share all your thoughts on the football, whether it was today. Obviously, we'll start with tonight's game and then work through everything else we saw over the weekend in the National Football League. And of course, we're presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca and get all that Calgary swag there. And hit up swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for 25% off. And yeah, Toxic joking in the chat. Calm down, PK. 2 streams in a day. Look, man, when Monday Night Raw happens at noon and then we got playoff games at night, we gotta go live a couple times on a day. Plus, I feel like I owe it to you guys, like I all over the place with the streams. I said last week, yeah, we're going to do a stream on Monday. And we joked that, well, that means there definitely isn't going to be a stream on Monday. Came the other way. Thought there wasn't going to be any. Now we're getting 2. We're going to react to everything here on Couch Potato Diary. So yes, happy to have you all aboard. Let's get right into it and react to what we saw here from the Steelers and the Texans. And there's going to be a lot of discussion about this game, about these teams, and everything there. And while I do not always appreciate the manner in which he goes about things, I do think we need to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, as that may have been his last game as the quarterback of any team, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And it sure sounded like a sign-off tonight on everything. Now, he tends to keep things pretty close to the vest anyway. I can't imagine that Troy Aikman and Joe Buck have inside information on what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, but he's been pretty clear that this was probably going to be the last ride for him. And this, I mean, if that happened to me for 60 minutes, I don't think I'd want to play again either. That would not be the career path that I would choose, is to go through that again. Go through an entire season to get to this point. And obviously, first ballot Hall of Fame career. I wouldn't want to have a whole lot of lengthy conversations with the man, but from a footballing standpoint, there was a time where this looked like one of the most talented quarterbacks the sport had ever seen, when you're going back to the time with the Green Bay Packers. I don't think he handled things in Green Bay particularly well. Especially toward the end there, complaining that he's not getting enough help while the team is winning division championships, first seeds, getting to NFC title games, and all of that. He does win the Super Bowl, funny enough, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then in a very similar fashion to that of Brett Favre, the career kind of fizzles out toward the end, gets into a playoff game. But this one here, I don't think they lost because he's him or because he's 42 or anything like that, but they were pointing out on the broadcast, like there were times where if that guy's even 35 years old, he's making a big run for a first down or something along the lines. Like it's not a slight or anything negative or anything other than a statement of facts. And I'm fairly certain he's a big facts, not feelings guy. It's a statement of fact. Like he's not the guy that he was a few years ago. And how could you be, given everything that he went through in his career? But yeah, obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer and someone who was very important to the Packers franchise for a really long time, and then came to Pittsburgh and what was trying to get one last hurrah out of this. And he gets them a division championship. Commented on him a lot this season, and like a game against Cleveland. This is what you bring this guy in to do, is to win these games. Didn't do it, but did against the Ravens. Again, your mileage may vary on that one, but that they were able to get that win. But then tonight, it wasn't happening. And he is someone who, at this point in his career, does not want to take a whole lot of contact. And so because of that, it is either throwing away balls too soon, not hanging in the pocket as long as he needs to, or what was kind of one of the, I guess, pardon the pun, but Achilles heels for this team was a lot of quick passes to hope that your guys can break tackles and everything like that. And ain't nobody breaking tackles against this Texans defense. So I think it is time, and it brings to a conclusion a Hall of Fame career for Aaron Rodgers, I would imagine. I don't see a scenario where he comes back again this season. There are other big conversations to have around the Steelers, and we'll have them as the show goes on. Again, throw your guys' chats in the comments, whatever you guys want to do, whatever you want to talk about from this game, whatever's on your mind about this football game, let me know in the chat, and we can get into this. This is a very interesting game to kind of look at and break down. The big key from this is one that we have talked about all season long, and it's that Texans defense. I have been saying since the beginning of the season, this is a championship caliber defense, and boy did they show it here on Monday night against the Steelers. When you see the relentless pressure that they're able to get. And they were talking about, like, boy, we haven't seen a defense able to do this in a really long time. Last time that we saw a defense do this in this level of a spot was the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And that game went really well for them. It's the ability to get pressure on the quarterback while only bringing 4. And, I mean, we can have our quibbles about which defense is better and anything like that. But the one difference with this defense is, holy hell, it's like they have safeties at every position on at defensive back instead of corners. Like, they hit hard. It was interesting to watch a Texans defense do to the Steelers what the Steelers have done to other teams since the beginning of the sport, with the physicality, the rallying to the football, the boom, for lack of a better term, that they're able to bring to other defenses, or to other offenses, sorry. They beat the hell out of the Steelers tonight. There's no other way of putting it. They beat up the Pittsburgh Steelers, and for so long, we have seen the Steelers be the team that goes out and punches the other team in the mouth. Well, the Steelers were the one who were counting chiclets tonight, because the Texans came out and established that right from the word go. It was dominating the line of scrimmage when they were on the defensive end and getting that pressure on Aaron Rodgers without having to rush anyone else. Sometimes, even less, they would get there with 3. And then, okay, Rodgers has to check it out really quick, and you have some of the best tackling corners in the National Football League running around there and making their plays. There was no escaping it if you were Rodgers and the Steelers. So that this defense, again, with DeMeco Ryans leading it, shows that they are a championship caliber unit with what they were able to do in this football game. And for a while, it felt like they were going to get wasted, because this was not a CJ Stroud game. And I made a couple of jokes on Twitter. The Family Guy, like, oh man, I can't believe that he's missing. I can't believe we're not getting him, with the waving the guns around all over the place and not being able to line up a target. It looked like that, or like the stormtroopers from Star Wars, or whatever you want to say. Whatever your frame of reference is for inaccuracy, that's what that was. He was off. And I am a CJ Stroud fan. I can't imagine, after that first season that he had, that he's just forgotten how to throw. He did look spooked in this contest. And look, you're facing TJ Watt. That's going to happen. But it concerns me a touch when someone has dealt with offensive line issues the way that Stroud has with the Texans over the last couple of seasons. He's dealt with injury issues this season, and now all of a sudden he's feeling pressure where pressure isn't there. Now, Rodgers, there was a couple times he held on to it too long, so there's a nice middle ground that you like to hit as a quarterback, but like on that really bad interception that he threw, you can see it is bop, takes the drop, looks to his one read. When that dude wasn't there, when Ramsey's creeping in to take, I think it was Kirk, when Ramsey was creeping in to take away that crosser to Kirk, it was done. It was immediate panic. Where the am I going to go with this football? Okay, let's go to this guy. Oh, there was a defensive back there and it's intercepted. He misses the check down on Chubb. He misses a lane that he could run into. Those are the things that concern me, because for those of you who are new, I'm a Raider fan, and it looked a little Derek Carr-ish to me when Carr had, and people chuckle when you bring this up, but just if you weren't there, you don't remember. But Carr was playing at like an MVP caliber in the season that he got really hurt in with the Raiders. And then he gets sacked, gets drilled down, gets hurt, done for the season. He was a different quarterback after that. He consistently looked like he was under pressure when none of it was coming. That year that he was really good and the Raiders were actually a threat for a second, the Raiders had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. The next year they had a good offensive line, but you wouldn't know it looking at Carr because it was happy feet and just looking to check down. The second that something popped up, great, awesome. His first read was the running back coming out of the backfield or looking at the tight end. Like he looked a little spooked. And Stroud, I think, has more talent than that. And I don't think it's got to that point yet. But those are the things that concern you a little bit when you have a quarterback who, at their developmental stages, was constantly under pressure and just looking to run for his life when he was under center. So you hope that that is not the case. And you can see where the talent is because they credit him with 4 fumbles because it's a dropped snap and it's a this and that and the other thing. And then the next play, it is a dot on a 43-yard pass to Christian Kirk over on the left side on a corner route. And he just puts it in the one spot where Kirk is able to catch it. And then he's using his legs to keep a play alive and making a good throw on the run. Like you can see where the obvious gifts are. And he has talent around him. Don't know if he'll have Nico Collins next week. It's a short week, obviously, for the Texans playing on Monday Night Football. They'll get the Sunday afternoon game now against the New England Patriots. Nico Collins had to be carted off with a concussion. If you get carted off with a concussion because you didn't know where the huddle was, they tend to not let you just bounce back in 6 days. So I would be surprised if Collins was available, but you still have a lot at your disposal, right? Like Marks can be a pretty good pass catcher as a running back out of the backfield. Kirk had a really solid game. I like Higgins a lot, and Schultz can be a solid receiver for them. So he has the weapons to work with. It's just he needs a little bit of time with that offensive line to let them kind of get the job done because there's obviously gifts there. Like if this offense can just be good, this team can win a championship. That's how good the defense is. That's the level that this defense is playing at right now. And the level that D'Amico Ryans has this group at. Like Anderson was living in the backfield. And the rest of the group, just an excellent performance there on the defensive side for the Texans. And even like offensive line, they did a good job of opening holes for the run game. Marks, I like this kid a lot too. Like I understand working Chubb back in, and we all would love for the old Nick Chubb to be able to show up. That ain't happening. Woody Marks should be the number 1 running back for this team. It's not just building up speed. He is at top speed, it feels like, by the time he takes that handoff. And then like a couple of those plays where it's not as exaggerated as Le'Veon Bell used to be, but just that quick hesitation and then boom, and he's gone. It's so quick and so effective. And then Chubb just running guys over. But Marks would finish runs strong too. Like it's a really well-rounded team when Stroud is going well. So they just have to go well now, and everything will be fine. But it's an interesting matchup coming up against the New England Patriots here, and we'll break that one down a little bit today, and then more as the week goes on here on Couch Potato Diary, which, by the way, if you're tuning into this for the first time, and you think, hey, this is fun, but boy, I'd like it just to be able to listen to it whenever I want to, well, you can do that. It's available in a podcast form. Just search Couch Potato Diary on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. The Texans, it may feel like it because of the scoreboard with a 30-6 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Texans weren't the only team out on the football field in this one, as the Steelers certainly had their issues. And the Rodgers conversation isn't the only one that needs to be had around this team. It's another playoff loss for Mike Tomlin. It's another time where this team isn't advancing beyond their first playoff game. I think they said he's gone 9 years now without a playoff win, which is the longest the Steelers coach has ever gone without winning in the postseason. And I understand, like, there are some tactical decisions that he will make that people will disagree with. And this team has not been able to get over the hump. And there have been times where maybe they should have. But that being said, I don't know who's winning with this group, right? Like, you look at it, like you have Aaron Rodgers, the 42-year-old guy who's back there, who's also the best quarterback this team has had in half a decade or so. Like, I get, like, Ben Roethlisberger in his prime was pretty good. Again, not a great dude, but a pretty good quarterback. But the last couple of years of Ben Roethlisberger were awful. Couldn't throw the ball downfield. Like, not wouldn't, could not. Couldn't, like, when he couldn't make his arm do this throwing motion and have the ball travel more than 15 yards. Like, that is just not a thing that science would allow in whatever years he was playing. And then after that, it's Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, an ancient Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure there are some other ones who are thrown in there as well. Like, there hasn't really been that guy to come in and lead the charge. So yeah, like, losing all those playoff games, it's frustrating. And at some point, you kind of have to change the messaging there. I would suggest that roster construction has not been a strength of this team. I think the roster has gotten worse and worse over the past couple of seasons. Like, TJ Watt went down with an injury a couple of years ago, and they couldn't do a thing on defense. Like, this defense is like 3 players away from being the Raiders. That's exaggerating a little bit. Like, there are some talented pieces on this team, but offensively, there ain't. Like, DK Metcalf, cool. Like, I like Warren. I like Gainwell, but those shouldn't be the key cogs of everything that's happening on offense. Like, I view what's happening with the Steelers significantly more as a roster construction problem than a coaching issue. Now, there's also, like, Tomlin, I'm sure, has more than a little bit of a say in those conversations. But this feels like a Steelers team that would have benefited from being bad once. You know, if they could have just been bad one year, get that quarterback, and then do the rest of the winning thing. If they could have had their Spurs blip to get their Tim Duncan and then just gone back on their way, excellent. Instead of, well, you know, Kenny Pickett, maybe. Who knows, right? But, like, they had an opportunity at Jackson Dart. Didn't do it. That they've had opportunities at guys in the past and didn't really roll with it. So if this is the last game of the Mike Tomlin era, you're not going to get a ton of argument from me. I can at least see why they would. I just don't think they should. Or I don't think you should do that and then assume all of your problems are solved. But you look at now the Steelers, and we'll do an offseason preview with them a little bit later on this week on Couch Potato and here on the streams on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. But this is... I think this is a pretty big project, actually, to build this Steelers team back up. We are assuming you're going to need another quarterback here. I would suggest another playmaker on the offensive side would be rather beneficial to whoever that quarterback is that is coming in. And still, there are some pieces that need to be brought in on the defensive side. I think the offensive line was fine. But this isn't just, okay, new coach, here we go, let's roll. It'd be funny if it was Harbaugh. That'd be really funny. But there are bigger things at play here for the Steelers. Because, like, this game was close for a long time, scoreboard-wise. This game, just watching it, this game didn't look close for a second. There was... The main thought for me while the game was going on wasn't, oh, this is a close football game at 7-6 going into the fourth quarter. The thought was, you're kidding me. Rodgers is going to get it again. They're going to sneak up and keep it close and end up winning a game. Swig of water for the working man. They're going to keep it close. They're going to get a ridiculous bounce. There it is. It's Stroud throwing the ball right to a guy. Or, for some reason, the quarterback who didn't fumble the ball all year now can't hold on to the thing, and the Steelers are going to win this game. A game they didn't deserve to win. Like, they feel like they are pretty far away. They feel like they won this division this year because the Ravens got hurt. And it felt like they got lucky in a lot of their wins. Like, this is, when you look at where the Steelers are and the distance between themselves and competing, even in a year where we feel like there's a lot of parity and not really that one dominant team in the AFC, it still feels like they're a ways away from really seriously competing in this conference, right? Like, I know the Chargers weren't great shakes on Sunday night. We'll get to them in a second, but I think the Chargers are in a better spot. And every other team in the AFC, I think, curb stomps this team, much like the Texans were able to do. So I think the Steelers are a ways away from being a competitive football team, a truly championship caliber competitive football team. But am I off? Let me know. Whether you're watching live, let me know in the chat, or after the fact, hit me up in the comments and we can chat about it there, because I feel like they're a ways away. But the Texans move on, and they will now take on the New England Patriots in the second round, in the divisional round, in the AFC. May as well go to that one next. We have Pats taking on the Chargers. This was not a blowout necessarily scoreboard-wise, but it's another one that didn't feel like it was close. It felt like the Patriots, a couple mistakes here and there, but it felt like things were a lot easier for New England than for the Chargers. Like, when the Patriots wouldn't score or wouldn't capitalize on something, it felt like a mistake. When the Chargers would do anything positive, it felt like a mistake. That's where that game was at. And Drake Maye was really, really good. Not, like, made some good throws. It was more with his legs and his decision-making and everything that he was doing there. And I have been stubborn in giving him all of the credit that he is due, because New England, take a break from having a good quarterback for a while. I feel like it was just all assumed that he was going to be great. And what we see in Green Bay, what can happen sometimes when all of that is happening. But you watch him out there, and he's obviously in control of everything. The gifts are spectacular, and he checks a lot of boxes. And so, like, moving forward, this is a dangerous Patriots team. I still think, like, grand scheme of things, next year is their year to be really, really dangerous. But you look at it here, like, Maye was spectacular. Stevenson was really, really good in this one as well. What's going to be interesting, and the interesting chess match, I think, next week, is this team likes to attack with the deep ball. The offensive line had a couple of issues here against the Chargers, but they were still able to get a couple of bigger chunk plays, and then were able to run the ball successfully with Stevenson and Henderson, but a bit of that was on the broken tackle. And as we just discussed with the Texans, they don't do that broken tackle thing. They just do the tackling part. So it's going to be a really fun chess match to see how that sort of plays out over 60 minutes out in Foxborough. But make no mistake about it. Like, this was a really good offensive performance against a really solid defensive team. I think Vrabel did a really good coaching job with this group all season long, and then the defense just got better as this game went on. I thought the Chargers were a little bit out over their skis with what they were doing on the offensive line in the early part of the game, but then when it came down to winning time, they dominated. Like, they really beat Justin Herbert up, and this Chargers offensive line, they were really, really giving them problems. And it just, once it snowballed, there was no stopping them there. For the Chargers, like, the offense was just drowning. The offensive line, the injuries they had, it sucks. That's not great. And it throws everything off on your offense. They pointed it out on the broadcast, and I agreed. The offensive line wasn't a big problem early in the game. It was late, but it wasn't a massive problem early. And then Herbert just wasn't good enough. Again, when we're handing out the blame pie, Herbert doesn't get the biggest slice of this, but I'm done saying he deserves none of it. At some point, these guys are going to have to win games when it's not the perfect ideal circumstances for you. I understand winning in football is hard. Only one team gets the trophy, and the confetti is shaped like the trophy and everything there. Winning in the NFL is really, really hard. But at some point, if we're going to talk about you as a great quarterback, you're going to have to do it when it's not perfect for you, right? Like, you're going to have to do it when it's not, the offensive line issue. And yeah, that was obviously an issue, but it wasn't early on in this game. And, they're just not giving him the receivers to work with. They're just not giving him the rest. On the road, I don't know if any quarterback gets the excuses that this dude gets. And I'm one who makes them, and honestly, a lot of them are justified. He didn't have an offensive line this year. He hasn't had a lot of help at various different points. Not all of the playoff failures are his fault. But if we're going to give you the big money, if we're going to talk about you in the big money ways, in that upper echelon, you're going to have to rise above that at various points. It's unfair, yes, but that's why there's 5 human beings on earth who are included in those conversations. Because you have to be special to get into that. And like Mahomes was for a bit, and this year it was too much for them to overcome. But it like, we harp on a lot of guys who have less than this dude has had to work with, especially in the early part of that game, and they didn't do it. Like, offensive line issues, whatever. He still had Keenan Allen in an okay spot to try to get a touchdown on 4th down and missed the throw. He missed a couple of makeable throws early in this game when they needed them to get rolling, when they still weren't having all the offensive line issues that they were having, and he didn't make them. So no, it is not all Justin Herbert's fault that the Chargers aren't playing anymore. But I also don't think he did enough to make sure that they could still be. And I feel like at some point, some of that responsibility has to fall on that dude. And I am at the point where I'm kind of over it with just, oh, well, no, he's really good, trust us. Like, I know, hasn't won a playoff game his entire life, but trust me. Like, if he gets an all-pro offensive line, plus 2 to 3 Pro Bowl wide receivers and a really good running back, then this cat's going to take off. I'm being hyperbolic to make a point, but you see where I'm coming from on this. Like, it's not, I don't think I'm being overly unfair with this kid in this particular situation. The other game in the AFC, it was the Bills and the Jags, and this was one, talking about, like, not great circumstances and all that. Josh Allen just decided his team wasn't going to lose this football game at some point. And he has done that a lot. And like we talk about, or I just talked about with Herbert, like, hey, it's not going to be ideal circumstances always. At some point, we have to blame you for some. Allen, I think, should get the leeway that this dude gets at different times. Like some of the losses that he has, he scored a touchdown to go up with 13 seconds left, didn't touch the football again, and lost that game. Like, he has lost in spectacular, heartbreaking ways that aren't his fault. And this time, he threw that Superman cape on. And it was a reminder, after last year where Mahomes got beat up by the Eagles, this was a reminder that sometimes, and we talked about it in the pregame show, when we're like looking at it, and it's like Jacksonville checks every single box, except that one at the top, where it's the quarterback. And sometimes, if that box is checked, that's the only one you need. And Josh Allen proved that when he is out there, sometimes that's the only one that you need checked. I thought he was great in this game. I don't love this from the Jacksonville side. We talked going in, like ETN, whatever his running total is, hit that over. Put him in your DraftKings lineups, whatever you want to do, because this is the game that's set up for him. This is a Bills team that you can run on. ETN has been worked into this offense more and more. And then you have a proof of concept early on. They had 100 yards on like 9 carries. Tootin just busts off 45 yards. They're running the ball effectively. And then it was almost like, it was like in what we assume high school sometimes is like, where things are going well, but the star quarterback with the long pretty hair hasn't got the ball in a little bit. So like the mom or his oil tycoon dad who is paid for the jerseys or something calls from the above and it's like, hey, my kid hasn't done the ball in a while. This is his team. Throw the football. And then you end up losing because of it. I don't get. We saw it a couple of times this week, honestly. Teams were able to run the ball well. And I'm not saying run the ball 8 times in a row, but teams were able to run the ball well and then all of a sudden just fall into this pass-happy routine. And, oh shit, we just had a drive that went 25 seconds and now the other team has the ball again. Not going to try getting lessons from this. I thought it was the wrong game plan against the wrong team. They tried to show that Trevor Lawrence could go blow for blow with Josh Allen instead of trying to prove that the Jacksonville Jaguars could beat the Buffalo Bills. And again, I think it ended up costing them. If they go a little bit more with the run attack and just have Lawrence be there as a complementary piece, at least early on, then I think you can really establish something there. But because that's how you beat Buffalo. You've been able to run on this team all season long. And this team has a good running game. Etienne's a solid running back. Tootin, I think, is going to be an all right running back. Really funny name. They have opportunities to do a lot of stuff, and they just didn't. And I think I've talked about this. We'll talk about it again with the Eagles here in a second. Sometimes it feels like teams are trying to prove something that isn't, we can win this football game. And I think that ends up costing Jacksonville. Great season. Neat moment with Cohen and the reporter thereafter. I know some people are kind of shitting on it. I thought it was fine. A great season out there. And I think this team will be back, hopefully, with some of the lessons that they learned from this one. But now, interesting matchup with the Bills and the Broncos next weekend. Because Denver can run the football, but I don't view them as a team like Jacksonville that has a running back that can truly take advantage of everything that's happening on the defensive side for the Bills. So interested to kind of break that one down as the week rolls on. The NFC, admittedly, is where a lot of the big storylines came from in this playoff weekend, I think. You have some really marquee teams asking a lot of questions, and none more so than the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we have xdrew9999 on YouTube. Get Arthur Smith out of there. That is, yes, yeah, 100%. Xdrew, I look, I've never been a big Arthur Smith guy. All the stuff in Atlanta with, we're just not going to do anything because fantasy football players tell us to. There's just an unearned level of arrogance from this guy. And it feels like teams kind of figured him out 6 years ago, and he hasn't figured that out yet. But I was saying, Drew, I don't know if you were paying attention, or not paying attention, but I don't know if you were around here yet, but I'm not big on the fire Tomlin thing. I feel like there's a lot of different things that could be improved around Tomlin, and it's not necessarily all his fault. Offensive play caller, that is 100% one of them. Like, they were talking all night about how this team, that they're just not giving them anything underneath. The second there's anything underneath, they're just absolutely getting smothered and getting absolutely crushed in all of these different ways. And it's like, did you guys once think, not even double move, just like move and a half, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be the backyard football thing where you run, you do a curl route, and you just stop and put your hands up, and then you spin around. It doesn't even have to be that exaggerated. It can just be like a run and a and then keep going. It was like, that was a foreign concept to them at all. When you talk about every other offense throughout the week, and talking about how great they were at scheming guys open in different areas and working off of different tendencies, Pittsburgh had nothing for any of that. And you know what the Texans are. It's not like they just showed up here on Monday and was like, oh my God, they got a defense now. They've been this all year. They're going to rush with 4, and they're going to tackle the fuck out of you with their defensive backs. That's how they're going to manage all of this. And so you knew that was going to be a thing. And so you have to be able to design something to try to counter that. I get it's like easier said than done, but again, Don Draper meme, that's what the money's for. There was no adjustment from any of it. And that's been Arthur Smith for a gosh darn decade, that there's just no adjustment from anything that he is doing. It's like, nope. I had success. I had a really good Madden franchise with this once, and so we're not budging off this thing now. There was nothing. There was no adjustment from him at all. Everyone knew the Steelers would attack the sticks because the receivers can't get separation. Yeah, and so from an offensive scheming point, again, like you're saying, you got MVS, you have an aging DK, old man Thielen, be so serious. Rodgers is good, but he needs help. Yeah, they didn't have the weapons there. Like, Kenny Gainwell was the second best passing option for this team. That's neat, fun story. Also, not a good thing. That's the guy who has kind of crashed out in a couple of spots being the key cog to your offense. That's a problem. That is more like, he is supposed to be the, oh shit, they got that guy too. Not the, oh, for the love of God, bring in Kenny Gainwell because we need to save the season here. But you're right. You don't have guys who are creating a lot of that separation. Austin was able to a little bit on the play down the field where he gets kind of overthrown. By the way, I didn't think that was pass interference. I understand being frustrated by a no call from a Steelers standpoint, but I didn't think that was pass interference. But beside the point, you know that coming in, you have to design something to figure that out, to get around that. And it's not a screen. It's not, okay, we're going to line everyone up and we're going to do this little screen pass and they're all going to bully through and everything is, that's how we're going to win this game. I think, it was the Bears. They had, like, Johnson designed the play where it looked like it was going to be a screen to, I think it was a screen to Burden. He gets set up, turns around, looks like it's going to be a screen. The two receivers are going to block, and then Moore just takes off like a shot. And everyone has committed to, okay, this is going to be the screen, so let's set that there. And Moore's wide open downfield. There wasn't even that. There was zero misdirection in anything this offense was doing. The one thing they did to try to throw them off is that Metcalf was going to run down the seam and Austin was going to run down the left side, and maybe the defender would be thrown off by there being two humans in the same spot and their head would explode. That was literally everything. The only part of the game plan that this team had was that. So, yeah, like, there wasn't anything going on, play calling for Pittsburgh. Jonnu Smith, it's like he doesn't know what the hell is going on half the time. He looked absolutely lost. Yes, until you brought that up, I forgot he played in this game. And that's not great when, like, you're the Steelers and you kind of need that. Frymuth had a good catch over the middle, but Smith is brought in to be one of those weapons to kind of help out. And honestly, help out in a game like this, where your quarterback feels like he's under siege right from the word go, and he just needs someone to be able to make a catch and just try to keep anything moving. But you're right, like the draw play on 2nd and long. Again, against this defense, you aren't just going to fool them with the traditional, well, they're coming at us really quickly, so we're going to do a screen. That's not going to work. A draw play isn't going to work. Let's say you slip past one of the best front fours in football with a play that was invented in 1923. Draw plays can be effective. I'm being mean now, but you know what I mean. Let's say you can slip by that. Okay, fine. Now you have the best tackling secondary since, like, the Raiders were using actual clubs. Like, there was no way any of those things were going to work. And it just, I said this about another game, but I feel like it fits in here as well. Anytime Pittsburgh had success offensively, it felt like a mistake. It felt like something, like a dude fell or some kind of just like, oh, they're moving. Okay. Like, it just, at no point did it feel like they had both hands on the steering wheel and they were going okay. It was like, oh, Frymuth caught it. Okay. And yeah, like trying to separate from a linebacker. Like, you're right, there's no separation anywhere on the field. And Rodgers, I talked about him before. Talented football player, talented quarterback, had Hall of Famer, resume, all of those things. The one thing that he, aside from with Devontae Adams, really, the one thing he's never really done is thrown a ton of contested catch balls. He likes the guy he's throwing to be open, not just, maybe they got a step and we'll try to, like, the dude has arm talent for days, and it's been frustrating at times to be like, just throw it. But he likes it when his guys can get open and get that separation. He's not really going to throw a ton of 50-50 balls, which, again, worked for him, Hall of Fame career. But this was, like, the exact wrong roster to build around this dude. And the wrong offensive play caller, and now we've said that in a couple of spots, even though they're the offensive play callers that he himself has been able to bring in. So yeah, Kenny Gainwell, that shouldn't be the big thing that your offense has. Drew also saying the O-line was absolutely horrendous. Danielle Hunter absolutely kicked that tackle's ass, had him seeing ghosts. If Rodgers had at least a tenth of a second, it'd be a different game. Man, that one where Hunter just does like the swim move to get past, what was it, Fautanu? Honestly, there was part of me that thought he did the swim motion just to kind of make the offensive lineman not look as bad, because he just whiffed on him. Like, it was like the offensive lineman heard go, and he just like fell over. It was a clear line, and I almost think he was just doing the guy a solid by doing this move to be like, oh, a good swim move from Hunter, because it was as uncontested as you could possibly get, just right past him to Aaron Rodgers to maybe blow up a play there. He's incredibly talented. Like, he just blew right past him. And those are, to be fair, that defensive front does that to a lot of offensive lines, right? Like, there are some buildings that couldn't keep those guys out. That they are really, really good at what they do. But you're right. Like, there was even if your guys were getting separation, Rodgers had no time to hit him because it was just 1, 2, 3, shit, and go. And so that's why you would get a lot of the checkdowns, because he had no time. But the checkdowns weren't going to work because this team doesn't miss a tackle ever. Anderson Jr. was a force. Like, Anderson Jr. and Hunter are one of the best duos in the NFL. Like, it is them. You could pick a couple from the Eagles, and then it's Myles Garrett and me, basically. Like, they have more talent than that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's a really, really difficult 1-2 punch for teams to have to manage. And Pittsburgh didn't manage it well at all, I don't think, in this game. And to the point we talked about before, and I know fans can get on like, oh, we need adjustments, you need to make adjustments. And yes, it is easier said than done. But at this time of year, where you now have 17 games to scout what this team is doing, and honestly, probably 30 or 40, because Ryan has been doing this since he got there. And so you have every snap that Hunter and Anderson have played of their footballing careers to be able to scout off. You know what's coming. So it doesn't even have to be going in and be like, okay, we have to completely change the game plan. You should have had a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and honestly, light plan A on fire, because you know it's not going to work anyway because of how good that defense can be. There was no pivot for Pittsburgh, even a little bit. There was no place for them to pivot. They had no answers. They looked shell-shocked by a team that does this to everybody. I don't get how you screw that up. Like, again, all the credit in the world to the Texans, that they played a heck of a football game, but you have to know what's coming from these guys. You have to. It's not like Arthur Smith went out there and was like, oh my God, we're old. Like, all of the things that looked like they could be a problem for the Steelers in this game were a problem for the Steelers in this game. And Pittsburgh had nothing off of the regular beaten path that they go down to change that in the slightest bit. So I think a real failure for the Steelers. And we've talked about, I talked about it a little bit in the Tomlin conversation. Like, if you want to fire the coach, fine. But if you think that getting rid of that guy is the only thing you have to solve this offseason, then you are sorely mistaken. Because, like, Rodgers is probably done. And even if he's not, like, he's 43, like, at some point. So you have to figure out the quarterback. You may want to get anyone who can run a 40 under 5 at wide receiver, and maybe a little bit of help on the offensive line as well. Like, this is a team that made the playoffs and have a couple pieces that you don't mind, but I said it before, they're also a team that feel like they're kind of far away from being one of those upper teams in the AFC. So, yeah, some bigger things need to be done for sure here. Drew also saying DK was getting separation late in the fourth, but that line just couldn't do it. Would have had at least 2 touchdowns if they gave Rodgers time. If the Steelers O-line was actually average today, Rodgers is able to cook. He can't escape like he used to. No, he's a pocket passer at this point. And I thought Aikman did a good job of saying, like, the one I think we were talking about with Hunter with the swim move, I'm pretty sure that's the same one where Aikman said, like, yeah, he saved a touchdown because DK Metcalf was gone on that play. Like, they had a couple where DK was able to kind of get open and that there was just nothing there. And then you're right, like, the Texans gave the Steelers a lot of chances in this matchup. Like Joe Buck was joking about it. The Steelers got the ball at the 21. It took them 7 plays to go 4 yards to kick a field goal. Like there was nothing happening for this team. And I thought they were running the ball semi-okay at the start of the game when they kind of got into that rhythm a little bit before everything stalled. I don't think you need to run it 40 times against this Texans team, but even just every now and then to try to pretend that they're being honest. But at one point, the Texans defense is just smothering them entirely and dominant. So yeah, that group's great. And the Steelers, this was a tough one for them. Absolutely. And I think it really did kind of shine a light on a lot of the problems that this Pittsburgh group has. And a lot of the good that the Texans have as well. I think they're a very difficult matchup. Yeah, they oh man, 3 turnovers plus the 18 different times that Stroud fumbled it and just was able to just get it back. The turnovers that they got, this wasn't welfare FTW. Yes, sports. The turnovers that they got, it was kind of the Texans gave them to them, right? Like it was Stroud messing around with a fumble. It was a really, really bad Stroud interception. And I talked about it before. There was Ramsey kind of cutting off the one route and everything like that. But a lot of it was the Texans gave it to them, gave the turnovers to them. So on the one hand, Drew, the turnover part of it, you're right. The Texans offense can't play like that against the Patriots. Texans defense, though, if that, talk about the Steelers having issues on the offensive line. Patriots offensive line is not phenomenal. That they've been a little bit banged up. You got a rookie over there at tackle who's been getting better as the season went on, but that they're going to have the same problems defending against or blocking here against this really good defensive unit for the Texans. But that it's going to be an interesting chess match to watch that one play out as the week kind of goes on here, and to figure it out as we get ready for Sunday when those two teams play in the early game on Sunday afternoon in the NFL divisional round. This has been a lot of fun chatting with you guys. I'm enjoying this here as we talk about an instant reaction here for the Steelers and the Houston Texans. Again, if you're new here, show is called Couch Potato Diary. Do the live streams on Twitch and Kick. Oh, I just put the thing away. I don't know why I did that. There we go. Do the live streams on Twitch, Kick, and on YouTube. We are presented by Sea of Dead. And if you enjoy this, there's a podcast. Search Couch Potato Diary, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Texans defense is very good, but that offense can't start that slow against New England. Very fair point. Yes, no, the offense has to be rolling right away. We saw it with the Chargers game, where the Chargers had 2 trips within the 3, got 3 points, and that was the ball game, because at that point, Drake Maye's figured it out, and they're rolling. Texans have to get off to a better start. It's going to be another road game. It's going to be another tough environment. CJ Stroud, it's a lot on you, my guy. A lot on CJ Stroud coming up now, because that wasn't a good Stroud game, and you can do that here against Pittsburgh. Can't do that against New England, and think you can come away with a victory. Yeah, we can keep the chat going here. This has been a lot of fun here. I do want to talk about Eagles 49ers for just a little bit, but yeah, Drew, keep the thoughts coming, and I will get to them as they kind of roll in here. But Eagles 49ers, this was everything we thought it would be, and I'm upset that I really didn't see it coming. I talked about coming into the playoffs, this was the perfect matchup for the Eagles against the 49ers, because it's not a good defense. And so, yes, this Eagles team is vulnerable, but no, I didn't think San Francisco could take advantage of it. And I underrated the vulnerability of the Eagles offense. They were bad. And talking about the Steelers game with no adjustments, how do you lose that game? I don't understand how, with the offensive talent you have and the defensive talent they don't, how you possibly lose that one. I think Hurts wasn't very good. Everyone, there were mistakes across the board, aside from Barkley. There were mistakes across the board. Hurts missed some throws. Brown, the drops, awful. Smith, kind of ditto, right? There was a lot there. But the one thing that you really, really noticed from this game, or really jumped out to me, that 4th and 11, season on the line. They spent that whole drive managing the clock, managing the football in a way that made it seem like they only needed a field goal when they needed a touchdown, right? Like they were a team, they looked like, oh, okay, well, we're within 50, so we'll just play around and maybe we'll see and maybe we'll get a little bit closer. Like that's what they look like. And then it's 4th and 11 with your season on the line. And that's what you come up with, a timeout because a safety came in. And then that's the offense that you put out there. There was no gadgets, there was no tricks, there was no nothing. It was as bland and vanilla as possible. And the one benefit of the doubt I gave them all year was, I guess twofold. One, they won the Super Bowl a season ago. But two, maybe they're trying to keep this guy happy, they're trying to do that happy, they're not trying to show too much, just get into the tournament and see what happens. Well, they got into the tournament, and what we saw was everyone was able to elevate their game except for them. And when you watch, again, like watch early in the week, I know it didn't go well for them, for the Packers, but LaFleur was able to get his guys open. Ben Johnson did a hell of a job of getting his guys open offensively. Watch old Kansas City Chiefs games. Don't know if always the execution's going to be there, but you know for damn sure that Andy Reid is going to have at least one cat open out there for Patrick Mahomes to try to get the ball to. And watching this Eagles game, against the 49ers, 4th and 11, season on the line, I was so confident that no one was going to be open and that wasn't going to work out. The only thing that the Eagles could have got was a pass interference help on it. It was just, they were bad. And you're right, Drew. Offense, awful. It was awful. There was no creativity. There was no flow to any of it. They would have success running the ball. And like you said, Saquon needed more touches. When Saquon got the ball, they started moving pretty well. But the problem was that they would just like, okay, well, this is working. So, let's just, no, Jalen Hurts. Hurts can win this now and go with it that way. There was nothing, it was, something would work. And then they'd be like, okay, good, check that box. Let's move on and get something else working. And then they'd never go back to it. And there were times where Saquon could at least move the ball for this team and get them in some decent spots, but they would just, no, we have to keep throwing it. We have to go with Hurts. This entire season felt like they were trying to prove everyone wrong when they were saying Hurts isn't that difference maker. They won the Super Bowl in spite of him. He's not an elite quarterback. They spent the whole season trying to prove that he was, and all they did was kind of prove that he wasn't, and prove that this offense wasn't. It was a lot of Saquon and a lot of the work on the offensive line. You're right. There was no scheme in the game plan. It was just, yeah, we'll figure it out. They have third stringers out there. Whatever, we'll be fine. It was bad. It was really bad. And like for AJ Brown, you're absolutely right, Drew. There is no excuse for all the pouting, all the tweets, all the reading of books on the sideline, all the getting in your coach's face, all the this, that, and the other thing, and then dropping the ball in the biggest moment of your season. You can't do that. You can do we all got on T.O. and Chad Johnson and all of those guys, and even the Steelers here. Again, don't think I'd want to host a show with them, but AJ Brown, weird dude, very dramatic, all of those things that we talked about. But when it came down to catching the football, those sons of guns caught footballs. And it was, okay, yeah, I need the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Why was it that? Because they were better than everyone. And A.J. Brown is supposed to be that guy, and that was his moment, and he messed it up. Awful. Just awful. You can't have that. Just a horrendous season out in Philadelphia. And if they hadn't won last year, all of the talk, like Sirianni would be so fired after this season. And all of the talk would be, you can't win with Jalen Hurts. That's what this season looked like, is that he, I reference this a lot. Daniel Jeremiah on the Move the Six podcast with Bucky Brooks, they talk about trucks or trailers. Jalen Hurts is a really good trailer. He ain't a truck. He's not carrying this offense. And there was no need to go away with what was working. Drew's point, Saquon was gashing them. But yeah, no, throw it around the field. Like, It was like they knew, okay, Saquon can run on him. Great, we got that. And then they didn't go back to it. And again, you don't have to run it 1,000 times into the line back to back, but just every now and then to put yourself in a bit of a better spot, you got to be able to run it. Same thing happened. First of all, credit to the 49ers. This has been all Eagles, whatever. Purdy, honestly, Purdy wasn't even that great, but made the plays when he needed to. CMC should be the MVP in the NFL this season. Won't be, but should be. And getting those other players stepping up. But this is the same as what Green Bay did in their game against the Bears. Jacobs was working. Jacobs was working really, really well. The run game was going really effectively, but then that 2-minute drive where they were able to march down and get a touchdown to go up 21-6, it's like LaFleur was like, oh, this is fun. I'm just going to play with the passing game for a while. And we're going to just do this, and that's going to be great. We're just going to forget everything else. And they went away from what was working. And you had, late in the game, a chance to wear down the clock and really try to put Chicago away. Like, the NFL, it's set up where, like, if there's 4 minutes left, you get a couple first downs, and it's done. But they decide, like, take a deep shot to the end zone. Throwing the ball all around the field when you're trying to run the clock, throwing out to the sideline. It was poor clock management, and it was all the more frustrating because they ran the ball really effectively in the first quarter. Sorry, Drew, that we're triggering PTSD. Honestly, the way you came in hot on the Steelers, I assumed pissed off Steeler fans. So sorry to misrepresent in such an aggressive way. But I can see the appreciation for Aaron Rodgers now. But they were running the ball really effectively, and then they just fell in love with throwing it. And they had a chance to, I think, put Chicago away and just not let that comeback happen. And then they let it happen. Like, you run the clock out. I get, like, sometimes it's a fun trick when it's 3rd and 8, and they were expecting the run and it's a pass. It was a play action, and oh boy, no one saw that coming. But you can't be just taking 30-yard shots down the field on 2nd and 9 when you're trying to run the clock out. That's the opposite of running the clock out. So I think they mismanaged that poorly. And yes, like, for sure, don't drop a deep pass there, Reed. That was a killer. That was a really, really tough one. And then, like, I think Love was good in this game. I don't want to put it on him. There are still some times where it's like, dude, I don't know if you've earned this level of not giving a fuck out on the field, where it's just, okay, yeah, there's no urgency to a lot of what he's doing. And sometimes you kind of need that. It's good to have a quarterback who has that low heart rate. You don't want him panicked running all over the place, like the sprint button got stuck on Madden and you're just zipping around. That's not good either. But there's a couple of times where it's like, can we get this thing moving a little bit? Can we get that heart rate up a little bit and treat this like it's a playoff game, please? So I thought Love was fine. I thought, like, a lot of people after this talking about getting rid of LaFleur. I would not be one of those. Like, you see some of the schemes that they were able to draw up to get those guys open. Like, Pittsburgh would have killed for that. Same thing with a lot of stuff for the Eagles. Like, that would... No. LaFleur, I think, is a good enough offensive coach that coaches would get fired so they could hire LaFleur. I don't know if you saw this part earlier, but I'm a Raider fan. If LaFleur got hired, I would just, whatever casino he wants the deed to, give it to him. Like that's the type of offensive mind that you really, really want around your football team. But again, there were some decisions that they made that I didn't agree with. This one, I do think you have to credit the Bears a bit. Again, I think Green Bay could have controlled it in a way that it was out of their hands entirely. But when Caleb Williams started to show up, man, Like, there was a couple where it was, that's not great. But he had some throws. Like that one on the move. Was it Burden down the side? One of them over on the left side. He scrambles and just throws a dot to the dude. And it's like, there's 4 guys in the league who can make that throw. And so, like, you see how he's playing that game, and you see how he's able to lead that comeback, and it's just like, nope, they got their guy. And we got another guy in the NFL now, and Williams against Love is going to be a battle in the NFC North for forever and always now. Like that, this was the coming out party for Caleb Williams, and it's a tough matchup against the Rams, and that defense could powerbomb that dude and beat him by 50. But this was a game that I think, and I've said it before on this channel, I have been, yeah, it was a Doomsday on fourth. That you're absolutely right. They're like, you could count on one hand the dudes who are making that throw. I like Rodgers in his prime with your guys there, the Packers. He could have. Rodgers tonight couldn't have. C.J. Stroud, nope. Like there are but few guys who can make that one, and they have that now with Williams. Really, really good one. Yes, Packers secondary had some issues as well. But no, I think that is, it was vindication for me because I've been on the Caleb bandwagon all year, and I thought he got way too much hate in some of the games when it wasn't going well. When again, other guys were looking at other guys who are in similar spots. It's like, oh, well, new offensive system. You got some rookies in there. We're still figuring everything out. But for some reason with him, and I think we could probably pinpoint a couple, but for some reason with him, there was just, nope, doesn't have it. Not great. Next, on to the next thing. And I was like, no, like, yes, some things were bad. Look at some of these throws that he's making. Like you don't give up on talent like that. And it pays off now for the Bears as they are off to the divisional round against the Rams. The Rams made just enough plays to actually win this football game. They went for a stretch where it was kind of like this game. The one tonight, Texans against the Steelers, where CJ Stroud spent like an hour and a half looking like he didn't know how to hold on to the football, and then all of a sudden makes an absolute pinpoint perfect, you couldn't walk it out there and hand it to him any better pass than the one he had to Kirk. It was kind of the same with Stafford, where just nothing was working for a while, and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, there's Nakua. Boom. First down. Got it. Like, once it turned on, it was back on, and this team was almost unstoppable. And they kind of fell into a bit of a pattern as well. And this is where it's easy for me to say this because I'm not on the sideline and I'm not managing it. And we've seen Devontae Adams on the Netflix documentary. My guy can be a bit of a diva at times with I just want the football. Give me the football. I just want the football. And so they spent one whole drive specifically just trying to get Devontae Adams the ball. And it felt like that took them out of everything. Because like the two tight ends, catching it, working it. The Higbeast over the middle, awesome. Parkinson, that touchdown where like great contested catch, spinning and gets into the end zone all at once. Mwah. Chef's kiss for the large white man making that play. Nakua, unstoppable. Felt like he had the Mario star at different points. Corum and Williams were both going really well. So maybe just let Adams just in the flow of the offense get it. But they spent a full drive trying to get him the ball, and instead of bringing him along with it, it felt like it kind of set everything back and just stopped their momentum cold. And look, like I'm not even blaming Adams. It's just, it felt like they felt they needed to do that in that spot, and it really kind of took away from a lot of it. You're right, like, Adams is a great player. And Puka is, like, can make a very compelling case for being the most talented receiver in the National Football League right now. It was just, it felt like, and we see it with a few teams. Like, I thought the Jags kind of got themselves out of a rhythm that they needed to show that Trevor Lawrence could do this. I thought, again, the Eagles got out of a rhythm of what they needed to do to prove that Jalen Hurts could do this. And it felt like the Rams got out of their rhythm to get Devontae the ball. And if you just, and again, this is me, where the most experience I have is playing Madden, where you don't have to manage the personalities. It's just let the offense flow. Let it move. And everyone's just going to get theirs eventually. And by theirs, I maybe mean the Super Bowl, because that team can do that. That's how good that they are. But now, you're right, Drew. It's an interesting matchup here because the Bears' defense has, I think, improved a little bit. And they are... I think they're better than a lot of the numbers show, especially a lot of the secondary numbers. I think that they are better than a lot of that, but there are some flaws there. And you could see another part of, I should credit Carolina a little bit in this. One of the things that Carolina can do pretty well is like their line, they have a pretty athletic group of linebackers. It's coming for them. This isn't, the injuries that the 49ers have. We're not, like, Fred Warner isn't walking through that door for Carolina, but they have a pretty athletic group of linebackers that were able to, for a while, take care of a lot of the stuff in kind of that middle area. And to the point, there isn't that on the Bears side at this particular time because of some of those things. So the tight ends are going to be really good, and they just, when Carolina got back into that rhythm, it was the middle of the field. To your point, it's running it up the middle. It's Nakua coming across. It is the two tight ends over there. Adams can live in that spot as well. But they're going to be able to attack that again against the Bears here this week. And I think it's going to be a really fun matchup. And look, I think all of them are very interesting. And so going to break them all down again as the week kind of rolls on here on Couch Potato Diary. I am going to call it here. That this has been a lot of fun chatting tonight, Drew. I really, really appreciate you coming on and saying hello. So if you're new to these parts or not, either way, thank you. Do this multiple times a week. Next podcast stream is going to be on YouTube on Wednesday at noon Mountain Time. So for reference, it's 10:41 here right now. So yes, noon Mountain Time, later Toxic over on Twitch. Thank you so much for popping in today. That's going to be the next podcast stream. Going to do a video game on Twitch coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So that's how the schedule looks here for the next couple of days. So yes, thank you guys so much for hanging out on this instant reaction show. Head over to swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for 25% off. If you are a Calgary person, head over to seaofdead403.ca. Get that great Calgary swag. We got this Cannons hat here. Even if you don't know what that is, it looks good. So check that out. Yeah, Drew, this was great. We'll see you Wednesday. Unfortunately for your team, will be involved in this, the offensive the off-season preview of the eliminated teams, plus looking at the X factors for the divisional round game, and then Friday at 10 a.m. doing the stream to do the full preview of each game in the playoffs. So thank you to Drew, thank you to everyone else for tuning in, and I will talk to you all later.